a ban on smartphones, and an end to betting on fantasy football. Those two radical, crazy ideas are coming to California real soon. Coming up, we'll tell you all about it and how you can join the fight to stop it. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and I'm not fleeing our state like so many others. I'm staying and fighting, and I encourage you to do the same. The latest proposals that are catching our eye are really insane. They really limit our freedom, and they demonstrate that California liberal politicians have completely the wrong priorities when it comes to what they're focusing on. Now, mind you, this state faces a massive cost of living crisis, a crime wave, record homelessness, schools where kids are failing the proficiency exams. 2/3 of California students are failing math proficiencies. A majority are failing reading and writing. But what are the politicians fixating on? Idiotic, anti-freedom ideas like banning smartphones and ending any sort of betting on fantasy football. That's what they're focused on. And let me talk about the two crazy proposals that are being offered. First, let's talk about smartphones. Here's the headline in Politico. Gavin Newsom wants to take smartphones out of schools. Now, I know some of you might say that kids are being distracted by smartphones. And boy, we shouldn't have smartphones in schools because these kids really need to focus on their studies. Let me tell you, the reason why California students, 2/3 of them are failing math proficiencies, and a majority are failing the reading and writing proficiencies, I would tell you right now, it has very, very, very little to do with the fact that many of them have smartphones. It has more to do with the insane woke curriculum that politicians want to force into the classroom, and absolutely no accountability on school funding or academic achievement. We have literally allowed the education bureaucracy to run amok, and the size of administrative staff, bureaucrats, has skyrocketed while the academic achievement continues to plummet. You want to talk about improving academic outcomes? Focus on the issues of accountability. Give parents educational choice by giving them school vouchers so that they can take their kids out of low-performing schools and put them into better-performing schools. Don't sit here and play games, window dressing, pull stunts like, oh, it's the reason why kids are not doing well in school. It's because they're distracted by their cell phones. No, it's because the teacher's distracting them with idiotic concepts like, let's pick out our personal pronouns today. So I know that some of you may be open to this idea because you think smartphones are a distraction, the work of the devil, whatever. This is not where we should be starting. And in fact, it's nothing but a distraction game. It's a shiny little object, not just the phone, but the proposal, to draw your attention away from the more serious education reform proposals that Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrats refuse to even consider, and the very detrimental policies that they are embracing under the orders by their masters, the California teachers unions, the union bosses, who've shown that they are probably the worst influence on California public schools. But they're the ones calling the shots continually. Let me also point out that as I was talking about this with one of my colleagues, they raised the issue of safety. Look, when there's an emergency situation in a school, a shooting, someone who's not supposed to be there, a lot of the kids need to call 911. They capture things on cell phones. Again, I think parents like the idea of being able to get in touch with their children and having their children have the opportunity and the lifeline to get in touch with help and parents And so, again, I think this is just absurd. Now, mind you, Newsom and California liberal Democrats are okay with distributing, safe reproductive. Like, I can't say it because YouTube will, suppress the video. I can't, engage in certain words, but you know what I'm talking about. Passing out little, things to the boys. Yeah, let's give them that, but let's take away the smartphone. Again, priorities completely out of whack. The next element of priority that's completely out of whack is the Attorney General of the state of California is supposed to be our top cop. But instead of going after criminals, he coddles them. He instead goes after conservatives. Oh, yeah, he files lawsuits all the time against his political opponents, weaponizing his California Department of Justice. He gets the idea from the corrupt ones in Washington. But instead of going after crime, real crime, he's cracking down on something he thinks is very bad in society. That's a threat to our safety. You fantasy footballers are committing a crime when you make bets on your various teams that you put in your fantasy football selections. Look, I don't do fantasy football. I don't know enough about it. I find it to be pretty irrelevant. But I know a lot of you like it, and that's good. You have the right to enjoy your hobby. I consider it a hobby, and I think you should be able to pursue your fun hobby. But not Attorney General Rob Bonta, this liberal, know-it-all nanny state guy, doesn't want to go after criminals, but he wants to go after you. He says that his office is working on a legal opinion that I predict will ban betting on fantasy football leagues. Now, those that are in favor of allowing bets on fantasy football say that it's not a game of chance, that you actually have to have skill to know the capabilities of the teams and the matchups. And again, back to the point why I don't do fantasy football. I don't have the skill. Don't pay attention to it enough. But I know a lot of my friends are just, this is a very important thing. They are very, very serious about their selections. Again, to each their own, have fun. Now, I know that there are different stakeholders that would like to ban this, including the tribes, the Native American tribes, because they benefit from tribal gaming. Let me just say that tribal gaming has been one of the best things in California. It has lifted many of these tribes out of poverty. It's created a lot of jobs. The compact that we have with the tribes are balanced. This has been a big win. So they are raising this issue because they're questioning, look, does our agreement on online betting and wagering and gambling in the state, does the betting on fantasy football violate that? Again, I don't think that's something that the Attorney General should be weighing in on. If there is a legal gray area, let the voters decide. But at the end of the day, don't we have more important things to be focusing on? I really worry about the appalling misplaced priorities for California politicians fixating on things like betting on fantasy football when they allow an epic amount of fentanyl to flow in across the border, where we don't have a secure border, where they shield criminals from deportation through their sanctuary state policy, where they're trying to block voters from voting on important criminal justice reforms to give police and prosecutors back the power to arrest and punish criminals, where in this year's budget, the politicians, Gavin Newsom, adopted massive cuts in the state prison system to release criminals onto the street. This is what you're going to focus on? This is the threat to law and order? People betting on fantasy football? This is how insane California state government has become, because our politicians are not doing the serious work of addressing the issues that matter to you. That's why at Reform California, we're leading the fight to send a message this November by electing better leaders. We start in the state legislature. We've got to break the Democrats' stranglehold, their supermajority control on the state legislature. That's why I'm running for the 75th Assembly District here in San Diego, and I'm supporting an entire slate of candidates across the state so we can break the Democrat supermajority and form, for the first time, Reform California Caucus, members of the legislature who will fight to focus on the 70% issues that you care about: cost of living, real crime, homelessness, the quality of our schools, not these distraction stunts. It's time for adults to take back control. And I know that there's a silent majority out there that wants to support reform of our state government. But I need you to show that we have the resources to compete. Please go on that website, chip in a contribution. Also, sign up to get our voter guide. Our voter guide comes out the same week that you get your ballots in October for the November election. What you do is you go to reformcalifornia.org, go to the bottom, and sign up first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. And we will send you our voter guide right when your ballots hit this November in the election. We all need to pull together and get serious about the problems facing California. It's clear that Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta, and the Democrats in Sacramento won't do that, but you and I can. So join the fight today. Go to reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.